really the dark topic of the book is technological murder. I mean, it sort of starts off with the question of world war. It starts off with a literal reading of what's happening in Italy with people going to war. And to my mind, it sort of breaks down into two sort of Swiftian parodies of sort of hyper-realism on one hand and hyper-conventionalism on the other. You know, the Behans we haven't talked about as much are not necessarily irrational. They just come up with an initial reason for doing something, then further initial reason. In the process, they end up inventing science. You know, he mentions they have science. It's quite impressive. They end up creating somebody like Jesus or Buddha, only unfortunately he's burned at the stake. You know, a number of things happen, and by the time you encounter the world, it's a conventional dystopian to some extent. But in a dark way, I think the book is sort of breaking into two halves to try to describe what the basis of technological murder is in the modern period, in some ways, in some sort of deep way. In a more technical way, I think as an engineer, he's trained in a way where he's divides it into realism on one hand, a sort of hyper-realist reading, where you're getting an exact transcription of reality, almost to a comic parody level, literally cosmic rays from the sun explain everything to you know, for the hints. And on the other hand, you have the exact opposite. Everything is convention. Everything is based only on signs. It's sort of a nominalism in a way. But at the same time, that leads to chaos. There's an order to that as well. It's an order of history, but it's still an order. And I think he can only describe this really as a sort of Swiftian parody because it's so dark that it sort of couldn't be described directly, particularly in the time that he's described.